Hi, my name is Michelle Pachciarz, and this is my larynx model and presentation for my voice class. I've printed off an outline that you gave us that I will be following. As you can see, there's no notes on the first or the second page. This is just to keep me on track to save for timing purposes. All right, so let's start off with my larynx model. We are going to start with the cartilages and the hyoid bone. This right here is the anterior view. The orange is going to be my cricoid. The yellow is my thyroid. You have the hyoid bone and the epiglottis. When we turn it around to the anterior or the posterior surface, again, here is my cricoid. And then these two blue triangles are my arytenoid cartilages, and then the purple up on top is the corniculates. All right, so that is my cartilages. Next are the intrinsic muscles. So while we're back here in the posterior view, my green pipe cleaners represents the posterior cricoid arytenoids. Then the yellow here, they are the inner arytenoids. We've got the transverse and then the obliques. And as you tilt down, or as I tilt down, the looking into the superior view of the intrinsic muscles, you will see the deep down inside. The first ones you come to are the purple pipe cleaners. That represents the lateral cricoid arytenoids. Next to that are white pipe cleaners. I don't know if you can see, but those represent the cricoid thyroid intrinsic muscles. And then we have the thicker blue is the thyroid muscularis. The orange that is next to it is the vocalis muscle, and then I'll go ahead and tell you the vocal folds. The true vocal folds are the little tiny yellow slits next to the vocalis, and then covering it in a thin sheer cellophane is going to be the false vocal folds. All right, so those are the muscles. Let's see, let's go to the membrane. So we're going to rotate it back around to the anterior surface. The blue streamer right here represents the thyroid hyoid membrane. The pink right there represents the cricothyroid membrane. Right here is going to be my first ring. As you can tell, it does not touch. And then in between the first ring and the cricoid is my cricoid tracheal membrane. All right, so the joints. So let's go to the lateral view. You will see right here my cricothyroid joint. We have one on one side and one on the other. And then in the posterior view, you can see between the cricoid and the arytenoids, that's the cricoid arytenoid joint. They pivot. All right, now let's see, I did the epiglottic folds. Okay, superior and recurrent nerves. As you can see, the black is going to be my superior laryngeal nerves, and then the green is the recurrent. Up on top is the inner superior branch, and then the one on bottom is the exterior superior laryngeal branch. All right, so that's it for the model. Okay, respiration. As a person inhales, their diaphragm goes down, their volume increases, the pressure of the lungs decreases, so the pressure on the inside is less than the air pressure on the outside, and your rib cage expands to intake that air. Now, when you exhale, it's the opposite. Your diaphragm moves up, moving the air up. The rib cage compresses in, pushing the air out. Your volume decreases, your lung pressure increases. So now the pressure from your lungs on the inside is greater than the air pressure on the outside. So how does this coincide with making noise or producing a voice? Okay, so as this air builds up and it's coming through the vocal folds as it's passing through this turbulence of air. Otherwise, it's more like gas molecules are just bouncing off of each other, and this disturbance is what creates noise or a voice. And so that's question 1. All right, question 2. For phonation, there's 4. All right, so you've got your adducting vocal folds, you have medial compression, longitudinal tension, and then phonatory threshold pressure. So that's number 2. The function. All right, so 3 and 4 I combined together because it was just easier to kind of remember how they work in relation to the cartilages and the function. All right, so I'm going to start off with my posterior cricoid arytenoid muscle. What's its function? It's the only one that abducts, opening the glottis. And what cartilages does it affect? Okay, so when this muscle constricts, it pulls the muscle process posterior. That causes the arytenoids to pivot laterally. So now we're going to move to the lateral cricoid arytenoid. What it does is it does adduction of the vocal folds. So when it constricts, it pulls the muscle processes anteriorly, causing the arytenoids to pivot medially. So that's that. All right. Now we're going to go to the inner arytenoids. Remember, there are 2. You've got your transverse that's unpaired. You have your oblique that is paired. And then we're also going to talk about the aerial epiglottic muscle. Okay, so first, the transverse. When it's the unpaired. When it constricts, it moves the arytenoid body together. It pulls it together. When the oblique constricts, it pulls the apex of the arytenoids together. Now, the areoepiglottic muscle, it's composed of the obliques, and it inserts, or it goes into the epiglottic. So when it constricts, it pulls the epiglottis down and back, and that covers the larynx. Okay, so now we're going to move. Let's see, we've done the outside. So now let's move to the thyroid bundle. So the vocalis and the muscularis. The vocalis. One more thing about the inner arytenoids. It not only does it pull the vocal folds together, but it also has medial compression. Okay, so now going back to the thyroid bundle. So the vocalis tenses, the muscularis relaxes and closes the vocal folds. All right, so the vocalis, when it constricts, it pulls apart the thyroid and the cricoid. When the muscularis constricts, it pulls the arytenoids forward. Okay. Now the last one is going to be the cricothyroid. It's 2. There's your pars recta and your pars oblique. And what they do is they're vocal fold tensors. The pars recta, when it constricts, it tilts the thyroid downward. When the pars oblique constricts, it pulls the thyroid forward. Okay. All right. So we've done 3 and 4, 5. Okay. So the nerve supply. So the nerves. Okay. So it originates in the medulla, in the brain. It goes down to the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve splits off to the pharyngeal branch. From the pharyngeal branch, it innervates the soft palate and the pharyngeal constrictors. From there, it splits off into the superior laryngeal branch, which has the internal and external, and that is the one that innervates the cricothyroid. The recurrent laryngeal branch is what innervates all the rest of them, all the rest of the intrinsic muscles. Okay, myoelastic aerodynamic theory. So the two components is aerodynamics, myoelasticity. Aerodynamics is more on the lines of vibrations per cycle, and it's just when the air comes up through the glottis, and then pressure drops, the vocal folds close, and that's the Bernoulli effect. And then the myoelasticity has to do with muscle tension, and it's where the changes in the muscle elasticity and the muscle elasticity and the it's the muscle elasticity and the tensing. What it does is when it can change the frequency of the tone. And so basically what happens is you just have a buildup of air, and it comes through the glottis, opening the vocal folds, and then the pressure drops and it's closing, and it's causing a airstream to move over the glottis. Okay. And then the last one's the mucosal wave. So the mucosal wave is when you have that burst of air through the epiglottis, through the vocal folds, the inner lip starts to vibrate first, followed by the superior lip. Then it starts moving. As the pressure drops and the vocal folds close, the inner lip precedes the superior lip, causing this surface-like motion, which we refer to it as the mucosal wave. And there you have it. So thanks so much, and I hope you're having a great holiday.